you had like a really interesting run on season 2, and one of the things you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. One of the things I actually wanted to ask you about season 2, because it was such an interesting season, but in the at the reunion, the guy who you did not want to name, Santino, sort of he had criticized you quite heavily for your looks throughout, and then he said he really liked your look at the reunion, which was really cool. I just sort of wondered, on the show you did kind of talk about that you didn't appreciate his sort of comments, but I was sort of wondering, do you look back and have you changed your opinion on that at all, or do you still think that he was sort of too harsh and everything?
No, he was an asshole. He literally said, "I don't like your style" early on, and I'm like, well, what do I do with that? He was very mean to me. He was mean to me on All Stars 1. He also did this interview with some, I don't remember when it came out. He and went on like a couple pages rant about why they could absolutely not let me win, how bad my style was. And so after I read that, I went, okay, there is like, doing it for the camera. And I saw him at one of the premiere parties. It's like, well, you know why? Like, it's like, I'm like, sure. And yeah, but it was this article that I read that I really was like, he laid into me. And I'm like, okay. Then he blocked me on Twitter at one point. Then didn't. But now he's kind of like a little crazy. So yeah, yeah, he was terrible. He made me feel horrible and did not relent. Maybe said a couple nice things, but yeah, I'm glad he's not a judge anymore.
Well, no, I mean, it's interesting to hear, because like we did see a little bit of that in the reunion, but it's interesting sort of to hear, because obviously I'm sure there are some things about season 2 that maybe you've changed your opinion slightly on now compared to when you were in the moment back then. But I did think, yeah, looking at it, I thought he was always quite harsh about your style, especially because I think maybe compared to nowadays, like the runways have like elevated a lot. But I'm like, well, you were doing just as well as everyone else and they weren't getting criticized.
Well, here's the thing. Like there was like someone that wore like a literally cheap spandex dress with a couple gold chains put on it, and they were raving about it, and it looked cheap. And they were ripping me apart. I mean, it's also at a time where you could not get a lace front wig, like unless you're spending thousands of dollars. You couldn't. There's very limited. Like now, there's like a whole industry around drag. Like you can get wigs, you can get lace front wigs, you can get costumes made from everybody. And I was just in Rochester. I made costumes. I could make them. I think actually that was my mistake of saying that I can sew because I'm not a seamstress. I can get an outfit done, but I'm not like, amazing at it. And I think that was held again. I don't know. They were trying to find something. I will just say that when I was doing RuPaul's Drag U, I did 3 seasons of that. When we were first shooting RuPaul's Drag Race season 1, it was when season 2 of Drag Race was playing. So in my head, I'm like, well, I'm on another show. I don't care. And when I got the call to be on the show, they're like, we want you to come and help style women. And I literally laughed at them. It's like the queen that you literally ripped apart for everything and fashion wise is you want to help style women? Yeah, I'm there. Fine. I'm good. Sign up. But when I got eliminated and I was on the set of, backstage shooting Drag U, and someone affiliated with Drag Race, very high up, I was like, oh, I'm getting so much hate mail from your elimination. And I went, good. And he looked at me, he said, well, it worked. And I went, so how do I say it? There's a certain position in Drag Race where people get eliminated around the same place that they've set up for everyone to really like. And then they go, bye.
Yeah.
That was me saying things without really saying them, right? Like I'm trying to be a little coy.
I know
But,
what you
but
mean.
I'm sorry, but fans watch the show and they know, they get it. There is a position, and then that queen usually wins Miss Congeniality, which I was very excited. Like it, that did mean a lot to me because the fans really like revolted, and Entertainment Weekly put me in their magazine on their bullseye chart and said, "In our hearts, you won Drag Race." And so it was like this, because I will tell you, when I left, I thought I had killed my drag career. Like I was like, oh God, I'm done. Because I'd gotten so much negative criticism, and I just was feeling like I I think I think I ruined it. Like I think like I am gonna look terrible. And then all the amazing fans were like supportive, and Entertainment Weekly said Pandora Box is the Susan Lucci of Drag Race, which actually was my line because I said it to RuPaul. I said, I feel like I'm the Susan Lucci of Drag Race. And then when I'm on the runway, she says, Pandora Box, you're the Susan Lucci of Drag Race. I'm like, oh my God. They just took my line.